What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be talking about the DLC season for Black Ops 6 Zombies. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and I know Black Ops 6 hasn't even released yet, but a bunch of new information did surface in regards to post-launch support for round-based zombies. I'm not kidding. With that being said, as a reminder, there's plenty of brand new article coverage also going up on dkdynamite.com for those who want to stay up to date with all things Call of Duty. Now, over the last couple of days, things have been very busy for the zombie scene. We obviously had the COD Next broadcast. I was there in DC gathering a ton of new info, playing Liberty Falls a bit early, and there was even a new episode of the COD Pod with Kevin Drew, Mr. Dalek. On top of that, a bunch of new rumors also surfaced over on Twitter. We're going to be breaking all of that down. So first and certainly foremost, a known leaker on Twitter did report on the following zombies content which may be coming to Black Ops 6 throughout 2024 and even 2025. So apparently we're going to be seeing the Zombies Standard mode, which is what we're going to see day one for Terminus and Liberty Falls. Apparently a Zombies Classic mode. We're not sure what exactly this means. I'm guessing it just means you spawn in with no loadout, and it's a classic experience where you have a starting pistol and have to work your way up to getting a good arsenal. But then we have the Zombies Story mode, which I believe is the directed/guided experience, which will always come out a couple of weeks after a round-based map does, and that'll be an experience where you get walked through every single step from rounds 1 through 15, giving casuals an opportunity to beat a main Easter egg and experience all of the narrative that comes with it, on top of getting a bunch of rewards for completing that Easter egg. But then, to round out this list of leaks, it apparently looks like Grief Mode and Jingle Hells may also be coming to Black Ops 6. Now, as I always say with any leaks that we talk about, this could all be outdated information or leftover content from previous Call of Duty titles. We know Jingle Hells was in Cold War, so there's a good chance to do something a bit different and on a much bigger scale for the Christmas update in Black Ops 6 later this year. That has me really excited. I think considering the development circumstances surrounding Cold War, that was a pretty solid LTM that they made in likely a short period of time. But to round out this list, we then have Grief. This is a mode that I thought was really going to be added into Black Ops 4 because Blundell himself did tease it during like this pre-release capture event for Black Ops 4 Zombies. That mode was probably in development and maybe far along development, but just never ended up dropping. If this comes to Black Ops 6, this is going to be wild. If they want to have a strong focus on round-based this year, totally cool with that, right? Save Outbreak for a different game, but certainly have as many LTMs as possible for the round-based maps that are offered, giving players something else to try on those same environments throughout each seasonal update. And Grief was pretty cool back in BO2, but could be so much better with modern day technology, with longer development time, maybe more rewards, and more substance and content surrounding the 4v4 experience on a specific map. Now, what's crazy is during a new episode of the COD Pod just a few days ago, Kevin Drew himself did confirm, and I believe he also said this during the COD Next broadcast, but I didn't get to watch the broadcast since I was there. He confirmed another new round-based map is set to release before 2025. This would mean that the map itself will be releasing during Season 1. Presumably, Season 1 is going to be dropping, I want to say, at some point in like mid to late November, which would mean Season 1 Reloaded would come out probably before Christmas, unless they push that back to after the new year when devs come back from holiday break. Who actually knows? But either way, another round-based map is on the way for Black Ops 6 before the end of the year. So that would give us 3 round-based maps to jump into before next year. I mean, it's kind of similar to BO4, where one new round-based map, Dead of the Night, did release before the year changed after BO4 came out. So he had 5 round-based maps before the year turned into 2019. Now, this gives me a lot of confidence that they're really far along development with lots of zombies content and specifically round-based maps. I mean, that's great and has me thinking that Liberty Falls and Terminus are going to release real polish during the launch window of Black Ops 6, and they're so far along with another map that they're confident enough to drop it before going on a big holiday break and before we start lining up with the schedule Cold War had, which was releasing Firebase Z during Season 1 Reloaded. Now, if you're curious on other release dates for upcoming zombies maps, let's just assume that we're going to be seeing 4 new round-based maps throughout Black Ops 6. If you want to space it out correctly, I'd assume that we'd end up getting a map at Season 1 Reloaded, the launch of Season 3, Season 4 Reloaded, and then the launch of Season 6. This would be very similar to the schedule that we got over in Cold War, except Cold War was a tad different in the sense that DLC 2 was actually Outbreak, so there was a big gap between Firebase and Martyr Toten, which meant that Cold War only ended up getting 4 round-based maps and then 2 main quests through the big Outbreak mode, which also got updates every season. So this could be a crazy opportunity to get lots of zombies content on each roadmap for the Black Ops 6 lifecycle. Now, I know there's going to be people that maybe would hope for more round-based maps, like 6 more, so we round out at 8, similar to what we saw in Black Ops 4. That's totally possible, but if they ended up doing that, that would mean one round-based map would have to come out every season. In a perfect world, that would be excellent. If you guys are wondering, well, what about the 4 years of development? Shouldn't that mean they have enough time to come out with one new round-based map a season? That would be great, right? I'm totally down for it, but there is another game game that may be coming out in 2025, which may require a couple of round-based maps, so they may save some from Black Ops 6 for maybe another Black Ops game coming out later, and we'll circle back to that in a little bit. But leakers have also found a list of upcoming maps presumably coming to BO6. Keep in mind, this list could be outdated, could be a bunch of information that is already scrapped, or this could be a bit of an early sneak peek as to what to expect in the upcoming Black Ops 6 season. So bear in mind, some of these maps here could be for multiplayer, and maybe some of these are for zombies, but there's Dig Site, Gun Game, Babel, Zombies Jingle Hells, One in the Chamber, Moving Point, Control, Pre-game Lobby, and something called Janus Towers. So it's unclear what's what here, but Janus Towers is clearly a zombies map. I mean, Project Janus is a very important point of the new Dark Ether storyline, so unless they make a multiplayer map centered around Janus, which they could, that sounds like it could be an upcoming zombies map. Could that be DLC 1? Could that be something later in the DLC cycle? Who actually knows, but I'm sure data miners and leakers are going to find more information over the next couple of months. Again, I'm just reporting on the news, and it could make for some really cool discussion thinking about what map we end up seeing next before the end of 2024. So it was already confirmed by Treyarch following the full gameplay reveal of BO6 that the round-based maps we end up seeing in this new Call of Duty are not going to be reused maps or repurposed maps from other game modes like campaign, multiplayer, or even Warzone. Now, of course, it's pretty early to talk about DLC, so everything is of course subject to change. They could of course change their mind on this in the foreseeable future if something goes wrong with development. You guys know how that goes, but this was a big piece of criticism from Black Ops Cold War, because you could look at maps like Firebase Z, Martyr Toten, Forsaken, which did take areas that we already had in campaign and zombified them. Now, like I've always said before, and since the dawn of zombies, we're always going to see reused assets across all of our game modes in Call of Duty, and I've never really had a problem with any of that. I think it's fair to criticize something like Outbreak from Cold War, for example, because I think the environments we saw, obviously they were pulled from Fireteam, they could have been better zombified for the Outbreak mode to help those environments stand out from Cold War multiplayer. Totally understand that, but also let's not forget Cold War was made during a pandemic, and the development cycle and the whole process throughout Cold War was much different from just about any other COD that Activision has ever released. So with Black Ops 6 having a longer development time, and keep in mind, I do expect there to be some reused assets to an extent across the zombies mode, even if it's not a full map taken from or derived from a different game mode, we're still going to see some things reused, of course. But with all of that in mind, is it possible that we end up seeing something pulled from, let's say, the leaked Avalon map for Warzone? That map apparently isn't going to be added into Warzone until Black Ops 2025. That's a whole different rumor that I talked about in a recent video. Is it possible that we get some assets from that map used for zombies this year? Totally plausible, whether or not that map ever releases for Warzone or not. So with Black Ops 6 having had a longer development cycle, at least when you compare the game to Cold War, that means we could expect some pretty ambitious round-based maps, probably along the lines of what we saw in a game like Black Ops 4. I'm talking maps like Blood of the Dead, Ancient Evil, some crazy fantastical type of maps that I think could really push the game mode forward in a number of ways, whether it's gameplay or narratively. Now, I still believe you're going to see some reused assets here and there in zombies, as we always see, whether it's parts of an environment, whether it's certain mechanics, certain tools, items, weapons. We're going to see things shared across all of our game modes, of course, especially considering the COD Unified engine. Now, as far as where we're going in Black Ops 6 Zombies, and yeah, you guys probably got that reference, where are we going? As far as the locations we can go in the DLC cycle, thankfully, nobody out there in the zombies community, especially story fanatics, really knows anything, and I think that's great. There's a big mystery behind where we're going to go after Liberty Falls, and I'm sure we're going to get plenty of hints dropped throughout the main Easter eggs of both Terminus and Liberty, but there's going to be some great areas from campaign that I know probably aren't going to be fully copy and pasted over into zombies, but the locations themselves could be turned into zombies experiences, kind of like in the same vein as Der Schatten, a multiplayer map in Black Ops 4, which took place in the town below Der Eisendrache. So imagine seeing some cool zombie maps that take place near areas that we saw in campaign or even multiplayer. Now imagine seeing a round-based map in Vorkuta or Iraq. I mean, hell, even Washington, D.C. I also saw some pretty cool theories, considering there's a big tentacle creature in Terminus. Could there be a hint that we'll eventually see an Atlantis DLC map? There was a piece of intel in Cold War, I believe, which did kind of hint at that, so totally open to it 100%, but would also love to see us go inside the Dark Ether for a DLC map in Black Ops 6. We actually got to go in the Dark Ether quite a bit in Vanguard Zombies, but what about a proper round-based map in a longer developed COD from Treyarch fully that takes us in there? I mean, Project Janus might also be connected to us going into Dark Ether eventually. We know something leads to the deaths of our Requiem characters, right? I think think it was through Ethereum exposure, they all end up dying sitting at a table together, and something's going on with those vials. So I'm sure they're gonna explore that a little bit more in the future of the Dark Ether story. But we also know, based on other intel, that of course Ravenov kind of goes off the grid a little bit after the events of Cold War. He becomes a mob enforcer, but never really gets caught or imprisoned like our other characters did. We know Elizabeth Grey gets pregnant and she becomes a surrogate for Ava. So that's of course the child of Samantha and Ravenov without their consent, which is wild. And then I think there's also a possibility that Eddie, or the director, has some interest in either the entity. I mean, that's probably a given considering the current plot of MWZ. And then what about the construct, where you can maybe become the next Archon, or maybe Samantha became the next Archon because she's in there right now. There are so many things that could be explored in the DLC season for BO6, and I can't even imagine what else could be bleeding out from the Dark Ether that could be returning from the old storyline. Now, if anybody's wondering whether or not we'll see any remastered zombie maps throughout our DLC season, I think in a perfect world, it would be cool if we saw a new zombie map every season guaranteed, right? 6 seasons total, 6 new round-based maps. That would be cool if 4 of them, let's say, were original and then we got 2 remasters in between some of the seasons or something. That would be wild, and I'd be totally open to it, but in all honesty, I doubt we'll see remastered maps in BO6. I think if there's any title to save remastered zombie maps for, it's probably for the next Black Ops game, which we're going to circle back to, but I think it's great if Black Ops 6 just focuses on original locations and original round-based maps throughout the whole duration of 2025. I think that just makes the most sense, kind of bringing round-based back to its glory that we left off with during the events of Cold War, and just taking the mode forward with all new gameplay opportunities, right? I think there's so many new and rich locations we can go that they can save the remastered maps for a different Call of Duty entirely. But if you're also wondering, will we see anything besides round-based in Black Ops 6, such as Onslaught or Outbreak? I think Onslaught is totally possible. I could totally see that as some random update for a brand new season, at least the opportunity to give us a basic zombie killing mode on various multiplayer maps. That's probably something pretty easy for Treyarch to make, or definitely not as difficult as a regular round-based map. So Onslaught is technically wave/round-based, so I could see that one, but I don't think we're gonna get Outbreak in Black Ops 6. I'm totally open to it if they take that Avalon Warzone space and zombify it, kind of like how we got Urzikstan in MW3, but it was confirmed in the blog post, and it was made pretty clear that Black Ops 6 Zombies is just round-based. Now, that could change later, keep in mind. By season 3 or 4, they could change their mind and say, hey guys, surprise, here's a new Outbreak experience on this map from Warzone or something. Totally plausible, but I do think they're going to stick to round-based throughout Black Ops 6, which I think is great considering MWZ had a full year of just Outbreak, and along with whatever new round-based maps we get, we're obviously going to get new perks, gobblegums, augments, I'd assume, and definitely some new wonder weapons across our various new experiences. But the last thing I will end with is in regards to saving maps for Black Ops 2025. So here's the thing, right? If the futuristic Black Ops game that's been rumored for quite some time, if that has to get fully led by Treyarch, and if they have to kind of step off BO6 a little bit halfway through the post-launch cycle, I really don't want to see a Black Ops 4 situation where you can clearly tell that the budget wasn't there halfway through the year of post-launch support. I hope we don't see that, right? I'm really crossing my fingers that because of the COD Unified Engine, COD HQ, that other devs could really help out with whatever that project is that's been rumored for quite some time. The thing is, what I also wouldn't want to see is, let's say Black Ops 6 only adds in like 3 more round-based maps post-launch, and they have to save one for the launch of, let's say, another Black Ops game. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but at the very worst, if, let's say, Treyarch has to fully work on that other Black Ops game, and you can see zombie support kind of held back a bit for Black Ops 6, at the very least, we know that we are gonna, I'd assume, get another year of round-based with that futuristic Black Ops game. But in a perfect world, if we get 4 more round-based maps for Black Ops 6, then another 4 or even more for that other Black Ops game, then round-based fans are gonna be eating well. But what I'd assume is that Season 6 will provide us with the finale to Black Ops 6 round-based, then that next futuristic Black Ops game probably launches with Outbreak or something, kind of similar to Modern Warfare 3, then you end up seeing more round-based maps throughout Black Ops 2025. But who knows, that rumor might be false. Maybe Black Ops 6 gets a full second year of support like the original plan was for BO4. Maybe they'll work something out with the Warzone integration, and maybe there could have been a plan at one point to add in more than like 6 to 8 maps post-launch for Black Ops 6, or maybe they had a plan to spread it across 2 years of support. But if another Call of Duty entirely has to come out and it's made by Treyarch, you just know Zombies is also going to be a big focus again, considering the massive success that it's about to be right now for Black Ops 6. Activision probably wants to make sure that Zombies support just continues for as long as possible before what I'd expect is an inevitable hiatus when Modern Warfare 4 comes out in like 2026. Now, I'm also thinking that that futuristic Black Ops game, or whatever that project project is that releases over a year from now, that could also be the game where remastered round-based maps get added in alongside maybe at least 2 to 3, maybe even 4 new ones. And then you have the cherry on top, which is like some big new Outbreak that's played on that Avalon Warzone map or something. Purely speculation right now, but it's certainly a very fun discussion to have. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the upcoming DLC season for Black Ops 6 Zombies? What are you guys expecting to see? And what do you think the map's going to be for DLC 1? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.